Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Coach Caris, Itchy, Bitchy and Guests. Hi, it is me, my podcast. Hi. The title of today's episode, We're Selling Our Dream Home and Here's Why. Now, you might think, what has that got to do with midlife health, midlife fitness, midlife fat loss? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're just like really nosy and you're like, ooh, Caris is going to tell us something about herself. That's dead exciting. So, yeah, I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to tell you why it's related to fitness, fat loss, and midlife health. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why we're doing it, right? So, let me set the scene, all right? Myself and Karl live in Falkirk, right? We're in Bainsford. We are in a old semi-detached Victorian house, right? So it's about 120 years old, I think, maybe 120 years old, right? So it's amazing. We love it, right? It's absolutely beautiful. It's got, that makes me sound really big-headed. Obviously my decor is, and my taste is impeccable, but it's got original floorboards. It's got the original cornicing. It's got the original front door. It's got, what else has it got? Cal hand built the kitchen, right? So I designed the kitchen, he hand built the kitchen. It's got a massive picturesque window out from the kitchen. The window's like gigantic, so you can see out into the back garden. It's lovely. It's got a boot room that Cal's designed and built for us with little bits of shoe storage, and it's painted in dark blue, and it's got brass hooks in it, and it's all like super sexy. We have spent so much money and so much time restoring this house and putting it back as much as we could to the original condition that it would have been in. We've rewired it, we've replastered it, we've plasterboarded ceilings, it's got new windows, we've put an ensuite in up the stairs. So the when we first moved in, the only bathroom it had was down the stairs. So when you come in the front door at ground height, we've got the living room. Then there's the guest bedroom down the stairs. It was a dining room when we moved in. Then there's the downstairs bathroom, which has a bath. And when we were stripping that out of tiles, we found the original wood panelling. So that whole room, the whole downstairs bathroom is wood panelled. You're then through to the kitchen. So when you go through to the kitchen, you're actually up a level because we've got a basement down the stairs. So you go out the back door, into the boot room, down the back stairs, and then round into a basement. And that's Cal's basement. So it runs the full length of the house, and half of it is full height. So it's standing height, a wee bit higher than standing height. And Cal went through a wee phase of building, making furniture. So he made a lot of tables and bedside cabinets and dining room tables and stuff. So that's his workshop down there. It's where I store my bike, etc. And the back garden's massive. It's too big for us, right? Which is part of the reason why we're selling it. But like I said, I'm just setting the scene. And then if you come back into the hallway and go up the stairs, so we've stripped the stairs. They're all wood stairs. It's all pitch pine. There's paneling on the ceiling. There's a massive window on the landing, and then up the stairs we've made the smallest bedroom into a dressing room. So Cal's fitted it out with handmade wardrobes, and I've got a little desk in there right in front of the radiator for when it's too chilly to sit downstairs. And we've got, it's pink and green and gold. It's got a big gigantic mirror in it. And then we've got our bedroom, and our bedroom was so huge that we've stolen a third of it to make an ensuite. Which was designed and built, the size of it and the layout of it was built around a French marble top dresser that I've been carting about with me for about 30 years, which a lovely plumber, I managed to get a hold of 2 marble sinks. So a lovely plumber has plumbed that all, so that's staying. Anyway, so that's the house, right? So the history behind the house is obviously it's 120-year-old, right? So in my first marriage, I actually lived in this house with my husband. So I came to see this house was it on my own? I think I was on my own originally. So this was a good, I can't remember, 2005 maybe. So 18, 18 years ago? No, 20 years ago. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, it was a long time ago, right? It must be about that actually. 20 years ago? Yeah, it must be about that. So I came to see the house on my own, right? And the minute I walked through the door, I totally fell in love with it. It was like, it was just amazing. Right. And it was not in the state that it's in now, right? It was in a worse state, but it was just lovely. So myself and my husband came back to view it, right? Anyway, we ended up buying it. So we lived here for, again, it's a bit blurry because it was so long. It was so long ago, maybe 5, 6 years. I'm thinking, right? Anyway, all we did was decorate, right? We decorated a couple of rooms, right? We ripped wallpaper off, we painted and stuff like that, put furniture in it. We didn't do any of the major work that myself and Cal have done, right? Anyway, the house was amazing, right? Absolutely loved it, fell in love with it. It was beautiful, and it was going to be our forever home. But the the marriage was not best. It didn't get any better. In fact, it just got predominantly worse, right? So to cut a long story short, I moved out eventually, right? And I left, myself and my husband, we had a cleaning company together called Moyers. So we kept running the cleaning company, but I left. So I left the marriage and I left this house and I moved into a little house on my own, a little 2-bedroom house in Falkirk, right? But while all of this was going on, we were still working together. Obviously, it was not the best. It was pretty horrific, actually. But, you know, it needed done at the time, right? I couldn't get out the marriage quick enough. I couldn't get out the company quick enough. So we just had to knuckle down and get it done. Anyway, the last memory of this house that I have is not a great memory. My husband messaged me one night saying that he'd decided that the cleaning company wasn't for him anymore and the house wasn't for him anymore, and they were both mine from now on. Right now, at which point I'd probably had a couple of glasses of wine, right? Because I was in my trauma era, right? I'd probably had a couple of glasses of wine. And I actually remember reading the message and flinging my phone across the room, right? And not doing anything about it. I didn't reply to it because I couldn't speak to him about it. I couldn't speak to him. It was awful, right? The relationship had completely broken down by this point. We were running the cleaning company together, but we had two very different roles in the cleaning company, so it was quite easy to not actually communicate with each other than via email. Anyway, right, so I never really thought anything about it. I was obviously raging, went away to my bed, got up the next morning, went into the cleaning company, right? So got all the girls sorted, sent them out on their jobs for the day, and I'm sitting in the office and I'm like, nah, there's something not quite right. So phone my mum, who stays 40 minutes away, right? So my mum came through and I was like, Mum, there's just something not right. Anyway, so I phoned my husband many a time. It must have been about 10 times, right? No answer, no answer, no answer, no answer. So we drives down the house in Bainsford and the house was all locked up. So I tried my key in the front door. I couldn't get in, right? So the door had been bolted from the inside. And the curtains were shut, the downstairs curtains were shut, the upstairs, the bedroom, master bedroom curtains were shut, right? So I'm like, nah, there's something not right. So I phoned the police to come and break in. So I phoned the police and the police were like, yeah, we'll be there as soon as we can. So we waited 20 minutes, right? And I was like, nah, fuck this. So I went round the back of the house. The gate was padlocked, so I climbed the gate. It's a 6-foot gate, by the way. Scaled the gate, got the basement door open, got the ladders out the basement door, carried the ladders, humped them back over the gate. I never had the key for the gate, by the way. Carried them back over the gate, carried them up the lane, put them up against the front of the house, and the master bedroom window was on the latch. So I thought I could maybe just flick the latch kind of thing and get in the window. Anyway, puts the ladders up, so I ends up standing at the front of the house in the street on the bay window, so on the top of the bay window in the living room, so that I could get into the bedroom. The curtains were shut and I peeked through the curtains and I could see my husband lying on the floor. So I couldn't get the window open, so I just turned the window, put my foot through the window and slid in the window, and my husband was on the floor unconscious. So phoned an ambulance, obviously, went downstairs, let my mum in. Ambulance came, police came, got my husband into the ambulance, and off he toodled to the hospital, right? So this is literally my last memory of this house, right? At the time. Now it was a long time ago, but I actually thought I would be all right speaking about this, and it's yeah, I'm not the best. Anyway, it's relevant to the story, all right? So I'll just toodle on, I'll batter on with my wee story for you guys. Anyway, right, we locked the house up, went away to the hospital and stuff, right? So my husband had attempted suicide. So when he messaged me the night before saying that it's all mine now, what he meant was he was obviously going to kill himself, right? So so anyway, we went away to the hospital, right? He lived. I don't know how, considering the amount of tablets that he took, right? But he lived. They pumped his stomach, put him into an induced coma, right? And he was in hospital for a couple of weeks. In that time, I came back into the house to make sure that everything was all right, because he was coming home. So I got the carpet cleaned up the stairs and stuff. And he'd left, I think, 7 notes to different people, right? So I opened them all, and all of them blamed me, basically. Right, so that was a drama. That was a bit of a trauma to deal with. Anyway, long story short, he got home eventually, right, after 2 weeks, went to counselling, etc. Right, there was a slight alcohol dependency there, so there was a lot of counselling to do with too much drinking and alcohol and just suicidal thoughts and all that malarkey. Anyway, he asked if he could move into my little house and I would move back in here, and obviously that was a no. So we went about our lives, and eventually, and this is the good part of the story, all right, that was his rock bottom. So he did only get better for there. It wasn't perfect, but we were speaking at this point, and it was fine. So eventually he decided that he was going to go travelling. Long story short, right, I bought him out the cleaning company. He went away travelling. He went to Thailand, Cambodia. I think he's maybe in Malta now, actually. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're not in touch anymore, right? We have been in touch since then. There's no malice, there's no hatred. If he phoned me up tomorrow and asked for my help and I could help him, I would, and vice versa, all right? It's just fine. We just have 2 completely different lives now, which is fine. Right, so anyway, he still owned this house. When I originally left this house, I waived all rights to it. So I bought him out the cleaning company. This was his house. So he put a tenant in when he went travelling. Now, when me and him bought this house, it was at the height of the property market, and we bought it on a interest-only mortgage, right? Now, if you have never done that, right, and you're sitting listening to this at the moment thinking, why would you even do that, right? It was totally the thing back then, right? There was no drama about it whatsoever. It wasn't even a thing, right? It was normal. So that's what we did. Anyway, right, so 10-year interest-only mortgage, banking on the fact that because the property market was like very buoyant, that when we went to sell the house would have increased that much that it would have paid the mortgage off and you would have had a profit, right? However, 6 months after we bought the house, the arse fell out the market. Of course it did. Why would it not, right? So the house went from being worth, I don't know, I think we shaved about 50 grand off the value of the house in a day, right? So there was a whole drama. Anyway, 10 years after we originally bought the house, the interest-only mortgage was up, right? So my husband was then, we were both still responsible, right? My husband was older than me, so I never took my name off the mortgage. We had a separation agreement and all the legal documentation, all the relevant documentation that we needed to say that that even though my name was on the mortgage, I was entitled to no profit, etc., right? Anyway, isn't it funny how life works out? So he had a tenant and the 10 years was up. He couldn't get a mortgage. So we had a choice. We sell the house, which hadn't had any work done to it for 10 years, by the way, so it was in an awful nick. And we sell the house and then pay the mortgage off. And the chances are of us making enough money to actually pay the original mortgage off, right, were slim to none. So we were going to get left with a debt. Or Karl comes to see the house with me and lets me know if he thinks it's feasible that we sell my little house and that we move in here. Right, now the story behind this bit and Cal's thoughts about the house, right, are, I think that they're pretty cool, right? So Cal grew up in Langleys, right? He's from about the age of 6, I think he was, when he came through here from, I'm so going to get this all wrong, either Cumbernauld or Kilsyth or Dora, I can't remember, somewhere through there anyway, right? So Cal comes through here with his mum when he's 6-year-old, and his gran and his siblings, lives in Langleys, goes to Langleys Primary, goes to Falkirk High, etc., right? So his opinion of this street that we're in, right, was, so he lived in Langleys and he went to Langleys Primary and then he went to Falkirk High. So he used to get the bus up this road to Falkirk High and then the bus home, right? And he always used to say to himself that this was the posh street because he lived in Langleys and because it's all old Victorian semi-detached houses, right? So I still now slag him to this day, saying that he's married up because he used to go on the bus up in the posh street and now he lives in the posh street, right? But obviously he doesn't accept that. Anyway, that's the story of that, right? So Cal, being the absolute amazing human being that he is, right, came to see the house with me. Decided that we could totally do stuff with it. We could totally make it amazing again. We could do it up, we could convert it, we could put an ensuite in it, he could build us a kitchen, we could sand all the floorboards, we could rip up all the carpets, we could replaster all the walls, we could replace the windows, we could do the garden, and it would just be amazing, right? And for that, he is an absolute legend, right? But I just want to make it clear, if he'd said no, and if he'd said no thank you, I don't even want to go and see it, or I'll go and see it, and then if he'd said no, that literally would have been the end of the conversation, right? At no point ever was I trying to persuade him to do this. I didn't even know how I felt about moving back into this house after everything that had went on prior, let alone to ask him, Cal, the love of my life, to move into a house that I had lived in with another guy, admittedly not in a happy relationship, but a lot of people would have an issue with that. And I do get that. I totally get it. Right, anyway, Cal is an absolute legend. Honestly, if there was a human being that I would aspire to be more like, I don't think there is one. Anyway, right, he's an absolute legend. So we decided that we were going to take over this house. So we took over this house. Myself and my first husband were still in touch, so we sorted everything out legally. And then when the time came for the mortgage to run out, I think we had about 6 months left, we got the mortgage company in. They told us that we had to increase the value of the house by £40,000 within 3 months for them even to consider us for a mortgage. All right, so we did that. We spent money on the house. We did a load of the work ourselves. Don't think for 1 minute, guys, that we just literally chucked money at it. We didn't. We literally did most of the work ourselves. All right. We got an electrician in to rewire it, and we got a plumber in to fit the ensuite, and the guys in to fit new windows. Everything else we did ourselves. Right. We plastered, we scraped, we sanded, we painted, we built kitchens, we built cupboards. We did everything. All right. It took us months. Anyway. Long story short, we managed to get a mortgage, which is amazing. So this was our forever home. Right, I got over all the drama, right? Every room looked different. So I don't even think about that house now. And it's like 2 different houses, right? I'm well over it and have been for a very, very, very long time. But are you still with me, my lovelies? Are you still with me? All right, because I want you to remember what I said at the beginning, all right? This story isn't necessarily about bricks and mortar, right? It's about what happens when you have what you have always dreamed of, but it doesn't actually fit with the life that you want to live. And this is the position that myself and Cal are in at the moment, all right? This is my dream home, right? And it's Cal's dream home as well. It felt like my dream home the first time I ever walked in here 20 years ago, and it was the street that Cal used to go up and down in the bus to high school that was like the posh street. So, but that's what the house represented at the time, right? The vision that I had originally, but more importantly, the vision that me and Cal had, right? It was about the lifestyle, right? It was about the renovation of the old house. It was about security. It was about me and Cal. It was about us getting married. In fact, it wasn't even about us getting married because we hadn't even spoken about it at that point. Right, bearing in mind, right, Cal actually moved in with me after, I think it was 3 months into my other house, right? So we just knew it was the right time, all right? But the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because there are so many women especially, right, but people in general, right, there are so many of you out there that have a picture in your head of how your life should look, right, and you stick to that regardless of whether it actually fits your lifestyle now. Excuse me, I need a drink because I'm talking so much. So we have our dream house, right? This is it. We've spent so much time and effort on it, right? And it's amazing. I absolutely love it. I do love it, right? But our life has changed now. Our priorities have changed. My feelings towards this house have changed, and that is partly because of Cal. And the reason that I say that is because I genuinely believed that this house was, I suppose, success. Is maybe, if I'm being totally brutally honest, right? And this house and everything in it means that I have got to where I wanted to be. I've got my goal, right? I've got my old house. I've got my old Victorian semi-detached house, right? I've renovated it. I've done it up. It's in a style that I want. Every single bit of decor in it has been picked by me and Cal, right? Predominantly me, to be fair. Like I said about the French dresser that's in the bathroom, right? I have been carting that about with me for 30 years, and it's only in this house that it's actually found its home, right? So I'm being really, really, really sentimental. However, I'm at the stage now that home is not necessarily this house, it's wherever Cal is. So I suppose it's about, just because I've achieved the goal that I set out to get all those years ago, and it's taken loads of time, right? It doesn't mean that it's still a goal. It doesn't mean that it's current. It doesn't mean that it's serving me. It doesn't mean that it's relevant. And it's okay to admit that it no longer fits, and that our life, mine and Cal's life, so this will be 12 years we've been together, right? So in the grand scheme of things, for somebody that's 52, that's not actually that long. Is it 12 years? I'm terrible. 2004, yeah, 2014. Yeah, we got married in 2018. Yeah, 12 years, all right? So it's actually not that long in the grand scheme of things. But it doesn't matter, because wherever Cal is, that's wherever I'll be. It doesn't really matter where it is. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this house, right? So anyway, what we've done, our plan, right, and this has been, again, this goal has absolutely been driven by me, right, and it's been driven by me for the last, probably about the last 10 years, is that I want Cal to have the option to drop a day at his work. I want us to not work full time. I want us to have time to spend together. And I want us to have time to do nothing, or just to do nice things, because we're now at the stage with this house that we're going to have to go again. So we're going to have to do round 2. So we've done things like we've replaced the roof at the front of the house. The roof at the back of the house is going to need replaced at some point. And then even if it's in the next 5 or 6 years, the windows are going to start needing replaced. All the house again is going to need decorated, right? And it's only decorating, it's only a coat of paint. I get it. It's not a drama. But it still takes up your time, and it still takes up every weekend, right? And the two of us at the moment, we're done with that. We just want an easy life. So our plan, to go back, right? I want Cal to have the option to drop a day. He used to work shifts. He doesn't work shifts anymore, right? He works day shift at the moment because he's on secondment, but there might come a time that they're going to give him a choice that he's going to, well, they're not going to give him a choice, that he's going to have to go back on shifts. He doesn't want to do that neither, because he's been on day shift now for a 6-month secondment for 2.5 years now. So he's quite happy on that, right? And if that happens and he does stay on day shift, he's going to take a cut in salary, and that's cool. But I would like us to be in the position that he doesn't have to stay on shift just for the money, right? And this all stems from the fact, another memory, that at 58-year-old, my dad died, right? 2 years before he was due to retire. My mum had been retired for a year. My dad had 2 years. And then they were up in Thornhill at this point, in their old cottage, in the country, in a little tiny village. And they were just going to be awesome. They are awesome, but they were just going to do stuff. It was just going to be the two of them. And that's amazing. And then my dad died. So I think this is about life being too short, but it's also slightly about realizing that if you have got a goal and you get to that goal, that doesn't have to be you for the rest of your life, all right? You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to change your lifestyle. You're allowed to change anything you want, right? But the biggest fear, and the reason that most people don't, is because they just stay stuck in the situation or with the habits, and they just keep doing them repetitively because they're scared to admit that it doesn't serve them anymore, right? This house doesn't serve us anymore. For a start, right, it's bloody gigantic. The absolute floor space is massive, right? It's just me and Cal and Jasper, obviously. All right, it's just too big, all right? It's also old, therefore it's cold. Now, we have done loads with it. We've had it rewired. We've got new radiators. We've got a log burner in. But it's cold. It's a cold house, all right? The garden is massive. We are not gardeners. I like a garden. I like a little space, right? But the garden's about 8 times too big for me and Cal, all right? We want free time. We want time to walk the dog, go out for dinner, chill. We just want that, all right? So at the moment, it doesn't serve us anymore. But it's hard for people to admit that what they once wanted, they don't necessarily want it now. And this is all this chat, right? All this chat, the background story and everything, it is relevant to my coaching. This is what I coach midlife women on. It's about change. And before you can change, you have to have the confidence to make that change, right? This world is not going to end because me and Cal have decided that we're going to sell the house. We're going to downsize, by the way, all right? That's the plan. We're going to downsize. We've bought a house that's 2 years old. It's got solar panels, all right? It's going to be cozy. It's going to be cheaper to run. And there's things that we're going to lose, like we're going to lose our log burner, which we absolutely love. Just about every single bit of furniture in the house is not going to fit in our new house, so we're going to have to sell it. So there's stuff that's, I suppose there's old things that I've had for years, right? I collect pub mirrors and old signs, right? They're not going to fit in the house, so I'm going to have to sell them. And there's a bit of an emotional connection. But there's other stuff as well. Like Cal built the kitchen, the guest bedroom, he's made the bed and the headboard, right? There's loads of stuff. Our bedroom up the stairs, I made the headboard. So, do you know, there's just loads of sentimental stuff. There's loads of stuff with actual value, like monetary value. The sofa in the living room that we've got isn't going to fit in our new house. The bed upstairs isn't going to fit. It's only like a year old or 2 years old. So we're going to sell loads of stuff and we're just going to start again. And it's actually do you not think it's quite exciting? I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited. Also, the third part to the story is that my mum has also sold her house. So my mum is also in her dream house. Her and my dad bought an old cottage in a village. When I was younger, my dad was in the army. His last posting was at Stirling Castle, and my mum and dad bought a brand new house in estate in Tullabuddy, which my mum absolutely detested for the entire time that we were there, which was must have been about 11, 12 years, because it wasn't for her. She likes old things and old houses and stuff, right? So her and my dad were in their dream home, right? But we're now getting to the stage that she's been in her and my dad's dream home without my dad for longer than she was in it with my dad. But I still never, ever, ever thought that she would move. But she's decided that she would like to be nearer me and Cal, which is fair enough, right? She's got a sister. So I've got an auntie and an uncle, but they live in Fife. So I'm an only child. So I am her closest relative, obviously. So she's going to move through here. So my mum's just sold her house on Monday, I think. What day is it today? it's Tuesday that I'm recording this. Yep, she sold her house on Monday, and she's had an offer accepted for a house in Kincardine. So we're going to Carnshaw, Mum's going to Kincardine. So the plan has all worked out, but you know, it's been a long plan. Anyway, the plan. So if you have a goal and you don't have a plan, it's just a dream. And also, a plan without the courage to act on said plan is why most people stay stuck, right? I have pushed for this, absolutely, right? I've been speaking about early retirement. I'm not going anywhere, by the way, if anybody's listening to this and wondering if I'm going to retire and stop working. No, I'm not, right? I'm 52. I mean, let's be realistic. But I have a perfect balance. It's taken me 7 years to get there, all right? But I have a perfect balance of online clients and my in-person ladies that lift. So my online fat loss for midlife women, my online habits and confidence for midlife women, and my ladies that lift for weightlifting, right? I have the perfect balance between work, dog walking, chilling, etc. Right? I'm going nowhere. But I would like my husband, Karl, to have the same options. Right? Now, he might decide he doesn't want to drop a day, and that's totally cool. But also, it's going to free up more money, right? We're going to pay our mortgage off, which is amazing. So we're going to have, at 52-year-old, we're going to have no mortgage, which, considering we only started actually being together 12 years ago, is pretty impressive. So that's the plan, all right? So Cal's going to have options, and I'm quite happy with what I'm doing at the moment. So I want you to think about whether you have a plan and what you're going to do to action said plan. Because having a plan and just planning for the plan is not really working towards a plan. That's just planning. You're not actually implementing the plan. There's a lot of plans, all right? So the amount of conversations that we've had about this, all right, this was always my ultimate plan. My ultimate plan is I am going to be in a log cabin in the woods. That is my ultimate plan. But then I actually think about that and I'm like, I'll be shitty fear that the zombies are coming, and me and Cal are so shit at shopping that we'll probably starve to death because we're in like Tesco or the supermarket every second day. But do you know, we can work on that. It's not a problem. So whatever your plan is, think about the steps that you can take to get to that goal, right? Whatever your goal is. Now, this has taken at least 7 years to get us here, right? Because we kept changing the goalposts, or I decided to sell the cleaning company and then start up fitness and then go self-employed and then build my online, etc. Right? And Cal's been made redundant in between all of that as well. So, and obviously you're saving and you're trying to pay your mortgage off and you're trying to pay your pension and you're trying to do everything that you should be doing and you're trying to do your investments, but you also need money to live, and you know, you want to go out and you want to do nice things and spend some money and save some money and blah, 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 blah. All right. So think about it. Think about what the decision is, that what your goal is, and whether you can actually do something about it. Because like I said, planning for the plan and planning for the goal and not actually implementing or starting the plan is not you working towards your goal. That's just a dream. So whether it's your health, your body, your confidence, your lifestyle, there are so many of you out there that tell me that that's what they want, but you're not doing anything about it. Make a plan. Life, right? I hope from this story you will also take away that life is too short. Life is far too short. My mum and dad had great plans and it all went to shit. Myself and my husband, not Cal, my husband, first husband, right? We had great plans. That absolutely went epically to shit. All right? Myself and Cal have plans. That's not going to shit. That's for life, that shit is. Anyway, not actually sharing this story because I'm selling a house. I'm sure you are really interested. Like, folk do it every day. Do you know what I mean? It's not that exciting. But I am sharing it because I know there are people listening to this who feel stuck and feel that there's a difference between what they have at the moment and what they want, but they don't know how to change that, right? The first thing to change is to realise that what you have at the moment, it's okay for it not to be serving you. It's absolutely fine. But until you acknowledge that, you're never going to make any change, all right? So I want this to be to your reminder that it's okay to change your mind. It's absolutely okay to change your mind. And it's okay to want more as well. It's okay to want a different lifestyle and a different goal with different people. But you need to stop calling it a dream. All right? If you want to, I don't know, maybe you just want to sell your house and go and live in Ibiza. Fucking do it. Like, what is the worst that could happen? It's shit, so you need to come home. But if you don't try it, you will never, ever, ever know. Start making a plan. I'll see you all soon, my lovelies. Bye-bye.